4.
Do you have a gardening problem? We can help you with that. A program dedicated to help you grow a better garden, maintain your landscape, grow healthier trees, make that grass look a little bit greener, as well as preserving what you grow. We're here to help you with your gardening problem. You're tuned in to Garden Talk Radio.
You are listening to the most informational-packed hour of garden-focused radio in the country and on the internet with your host, husband and wife team Joey and Holly Baird. This is the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show.
Welcome to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show. The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show is presented to you by Power Planter Earth Augers, the official digging tool to find the right size for your digging projects. Visit powerplanter.com. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us to talk gardening for the next hour. Whether you're listening to us through one of the radio stations, the 16 of them that are carrying our broadcast over the 2020 season, through a radio app, through our website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, under the Season 4 radio tab at the top of the page, podcast replay or in-studio video replay, we thank you very much for doing so. I am your host, Joy Baird. Beside me is my wife, co-host, best friend, and gardening partner,
Holly Baird.
This program is for you, about you, to help your garden grow better, to have healthier trees, to make your grass look greener, as well as preserving what you grow indoors and out. There's several ways in which you can contact us. You can do that by emailing us anytime at gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. If you'd much rather give us a call, you can certainly do that, and our number is open 24/7. That number is 1-800-927-SHOW, 1-800-927-SHOW. We got a good program. We always do every week for you. We're going to get in the first segment talking about how to keep your grass green and healthy all summer long in the heat of the summer, as well as the second segment is going to be talking about plants that you can put on your property for security, as well as our guest, Jennifer Kramer and Isa Eaton will be with us, as well as two guests there, talking about their new book, as well as answering as many of your garden questions as possible. So, Holly, let's get into the program and start talking about something that some people are excited about, other people dread, and that is the lawn. Some people, the line of procession is family, God, and grass, and some people want to have a lush, beautiful lawn and to maintain it all summer long to keep it very pleasing and picture perfect.
Or just nice to walk on, I guess.
Yes.
Right. So, so not all grasses are the same. And I think that's important to know.
There's some people that their lawn is whatever is there and whatever comes up, they mow once a week, and that's the way the story goes. There's other people that do put an investment into their lawn. One, maybe for their own personal satisfaction. Two, to increase the property value of their home. And maybe they are in such of a location like a homeowners association where they have to do XYZ in order to fall within the guidelines of that HOH.
Right. The biggest thing is that if you are maybe investing or whatever in a nicer lawn or a more
HOA
or something where you want a consistent type of grass and not like grass plus whatever else comes up, clover, whatever. The biggest thing is knowing what is good for your climate. So if you grow like a southern grass in a northern climate, it might not do so well. But if you grow the right grass for the right climate, as most things with plants are, if you're growing it outside, it has to have the correct climate. It's the same for grass. And
that's the reason why we're not going to specifically name a grass or grasses that would be good, because our show's on from in locations from Southern California all the way up to Boston, Massachusetts. So there's a lot of variations between those climates, but we're going to give you the general umbrella information on what you need to know in order to have success. And then you would want to get a hold of somebody at your local university extension office. They would know what the best grass that could be grown. Also, your local independent garden center would be another good spot to start with, going, hey, I want to have a manicured lawn. What kind of grasses or grass do you recommend for our area?
Right, and that's definitely a really great tip. Now, another great tip is to water early, water deep, and water often. This hurts my environmentalist soul that people are watering their grass. But,
if done correctly.
But if done correctly, you don't have to water as much, but you want to water earlier in the morning.
Right, and we've all seen driving down the pavement, the sidewalk, the driveway is getting more water on it than the actual lawn is. We've all been by those homes, and you kind of cringe when you do such. But the water deep, water often, water early, the trifecta here is the top key to a healthy lawn. Now, this is if you have the correct grass for your area and you're actually wanting the grass to be manicured and it's not just weeds or whatever the case is. Growing up at the farm, if the grass died, hey, we didn't have to mow it.
Well, right, and a lot of times grass will go dormant during the hottest parts of the year.
Certain grasses, right.
So that is another thing, is that if you have a dry looking grass, it's not, and you have a hot, droughty summer, it's not necessarily that.
Rip it up and put more in there. It's going through a survival situation.
Right. Yep. So it's doing its thing. But you also just want to make sure that you are watering early in the morning. So you'll see a lot of people come home from work, set up the sprinklers, whatever. But what happens is that
just like in the vegetable
world, you can, if you water in the evening, you can, well, this doesn't necessarily happen in the vegetable world, but for grass, watering in the evening or later at night can mean that you could get fungal infections.
Well, you're putting things to bed while they're damp in the vegetable world is just as damaging as your lawn by doing such. So setting up an irrigation system on a timer, so you have zones. And if you set it up on an irrigation system, if you're really committed to your lawn, you're going to invest in an irrigation system of some sort. It maximizes the water that is getting on the grass. It conserves the water because it's not going in places it shouldn't be going, and it has a certain duration of time. It's not like hook the sprinkler up, let's go inside. Oh, we forgot about it. 3 hours later, you go out and turn it off, and then you do it a week and a half from now. Inconsistency is not the key to a healthy lawn if you put the time and effort in the manicuring and specific grass seed or sod that you've brought in to get that. Another one is not to just mow it, to mow it.
Right. So you want to mow the grass higher than you think. And this might bother some people because they like a nice short grass. And especially like here, we were always told to mow the grass shorter because of mosquitoes. Mosquitoes will breed in tall grass. So this is something that is kind of a difference of opinion. Maybe you want to grow your grass taller. Maybe you have an effective mosquito, whatever, way to control mosquitoes program. Otherwise, maybe you just like the look of it.
But there's a key to reason why we want to mow it high. We're talking 3 to 3.5 inches high from ground level. And that way it's not as stressed or put in a shock whenever you mow it. If you mow it down just as low as the blade will go, you feel, oh, I don't have to mow it now an extra couple of days. However, the recovery and the damage that you're doing to your lawn, if you don't care, it doesn't matter. This segment's not for you. But if you're actually looking to manicure your lawn, keeping it high, having a nice thick carpet of solid grass, and that's going to help it. You're going to have less cutoff. You're not bagging it. You're not mulching it. You're letting it fall back into the grass to break down and feed the soil. So it's not stressed as much because you're not cutting it as short as you may think that you should be.
Right. So that's, yeah. And it also helps shade the root system of the grass when it's not.
And the soil.
Short. Yeah, and the soil. So it could prevent weeds as well.
Yeah, keeping your mower working right as well makes a tremendous difference. If you've got a lawnmower blade that you've used to blade rocks, basically, you've ground rocks up, clang, and you're mowing over different terrains and you're digging into the ground or you chop things up you shouldn't be. By having dings and not a sharp blade, you're damaging the cut. It's not a clean cut on your grass. So you're actually causing stress on that as well. You wouldn't think so. But you look at the difference, and there's plenty of graphs online and videos, the difference between an actual sharp blade and a dull blade or a blade that has damage to it. makes a very, very big difference in the cutting capabilities of that machine. Also, the load that machine has to do in order to cut properly.
Right. So, and that's the same thing with anything you're going to cut, whether it be herbs or vegetables in your kitchen. You want to make sure you're using a blade that's going to be a nice sharp blade that's going to be more effective and better, make your job easier and better for whatever you're cutting.
So keeping your mower working good, obviously key here. Don't mow in the sun when it's hot.
Right. Don't mow in the sun. So
this is one, there's a grass reason behind this, but also, do you want to be out there when it's 100 degrees with 110 heat index mowing grass? No.
Heck no.
You don't even want to be out there when it's 80 degrees and a heat index of 40, okay? So.
Well, not mowing the grass back and forth. But, so you want to mow early in the morning or later on in the afternoon. So, I mean, like, I know my mom, my manager at work, they all are like, I mow my grass before work, right? So maybe once a week you have to get up a little bit earlier, whatever, mow your grass. So be it.
And this softens the stress on that cut grass as well. Just like in the vegetable world, you harvest early in the morning when the plants are relaxed and the fruit is hydrated. So, and it's not stressed. Also, you want to feed your lawn. Now, obviously, this depends on the type of sod or the type of grass that you've got, but there are feeding schedules in which is recommended for specific grasses. You can get a Chapin Chapin spreader and fertilize your lawn. It can be every month, every 6 to 8 weeks. It all depends, and we're not going to give you specific ratios of what you should and shouldn't apply.
I think one thing to recognize here is that oftentimes when you go to your garden center and say, I want to feed my grass, if you don't go to a knowledgeable garden center, they're going to recommend something with a high nitrogen content.
That's the first number.
That's the first number on your bag. But that's not necessarily what you might need. You might need something for an overall grass.
Or a root development.
Yeah. So you have to keep that in mind because the nitrogen is going to make your grass grow faster typically.
Right. And yeah, you've got to go to a knowledgeable staff because the kid in the garden center or the paint shop, he'll say whatever. It doesn't matter. He's just getting paid, wants to go home. That's the end of the story. So keep that in mind. Also, follow the recommended rate on the back of the package, whatever you have. That's why it's there. Oh, just because it says XYZ, let's double it. That'll make it grow fast. No, you're actually doing more damage by over and under fertilizing than actually following the recommended rates. They're there for a reason. The company's done studies and tests on why those instructions are there. And finally, you want to take and not walk on the grass if that is the key. Now, obviously, if you have children playing, you can, it's a whole different thing, but some people don't like their grass to be walked on.
Right. And maybe you have a thoroughfare for neighborhood kids or whatever. Consider maybe taking that area and covering it with gravel or mulch or something. I know there was areas when I was growing up that we just ran back and forth to the neighbor's house, whatever. And I grew up in an area that nobody was like trying to have a prize lawn or anything.
Right.
But if you are, consider an alternative in that area. Think about where the high traffic areas are. And
we've talked about just because it's brown doesn't mean it's dead. It may just be that specific type of variety. You may have a mixed variety. There may be multiple types of grass in your area, and one is not susceptible to the heat as others are. And you may want to replace that if you're wanting everything to be universal and formed and colored correctly.
Thank you for taking time out of your day to listen to our show. This is our 19th show of 2020. Did you miss last week's show? We talk about getting your fall garden ready and dealing with powdery mildew. Our guest was Aaron Shanin of theimpatientgardener.com. You can listen to that show by going to your favorite podcast platform and searching the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com podcast, or we will make it even easier. You can to find them. You can send us an email to gardentalkradio@gmail.com, and in the subject line put show. Is it 16? 18. And we will send you the link. We will be right back. Do not go anywhere. We'll be talking about 5 plants you can put on your property for protection. You're listening to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show, a program to help you grow a better garden, maintain your landscape, help your trees grow better, make that grass look greener, and preserving what you grow for indoor and out.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
We here at the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardens understand that healthy soil is always the key to a successful garden. We know that chemical fertilizer burns carbon out of the soil and kills the microlife needed for a healthy soil ecosystem. No worries. Chicken Soup for the Soil by Dr. Jim's will stimulate life in the soil and supply all the nutrients most fertilizers neglect. Rather than force-feeding water-soluble chemical fertilizer, we suggest feeding the microbes a smorgasbord of 100% bioavailable nutrients that your plants can consume when they need them. Chicken Soup for the Soil is an amazing fertilizer that will increase the quality of all the fruits and vegetables you grow. Perfect for gardeners, growers, and farmers. To find out more about Chicken Soup for the Soil and other products, visit drjims.com. That's drjimz.com. The new way to support your tomatoes, wrap it and snap it. Tomatosnaps.com. Ship Drop is a website you can sign up for free wood chip mulch delivery right to your door for free. Ship Drop connects homeowners and gardeners with tree services who are trying to get rid of their wood chips. You can also sign up to get free logs and firewood. Go to chipdrop.com to learn more and sign up for a free account. Deer Defeat is an all-natural repellent to keep deer, rabbits, and groundhogs away from your precious plants. Deer Defeat protects your plants day and night, dries clear, and odorless. It will not clog your sprayer. Deer Defeat works for 30 days through rain, snow, and freeze. Safe, effective, and works on rabbits. Money-back guarantee. To purchase, go to deerdefeat.com and use code RADIO to save 10% on your order. Deer Defeat. It can't be beat.
Do not go anywhere. There is more of the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show to come, which is presented to you by Power Planter Earth Augers, the official digging tool. To find the right size for your digging project, visit powerplanter.com.
Protect your plants against damage with a 3-in-1 plant guard and special blend fertilizer. Visit ivorganics.com.
Tired of breaking your back while pulling weeds? Worrying about spraying chemicals around plants you want to keep? Chapin has the solution with the Weed Devil. The Chapin Weed Devil is a compact, lightweight, long-handled weed-killing machine. Powered with a rechargeable battery, you can start spraying with the touch of a button. Just choose your favorite herbicide, fill the tank, and spot spray as needed. To order the Chapin Weed Devil, visit www.chapinmfg.com. Responsible watering, accurate, fast, and efficient. Earth conscious. Visit waterhoop.com.
Blue Mel's Garden and Landscape Center offers an awesome selection of high-quality garden and landscape products. We have just the plants you're looking for: annuals, perennials, veggies, herbs, and more. Plus, you can always count on us to answer all of your questions and offer expert advice. Blue Mel's also carries the largest selection of bulk landscape materials in the area. Enjoy a beverage from our coffee shop while your kids run around in our huge playground. Join our growing list of highly satisfied customers. Visit the garden center that offers everything you're looking for. Visit Blue Mel's today.
Blue Mel's, 4930 West Loomis Road, 414-282-4220. The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show is brought to you by the following: Power Planter Earth Augers, Ivy Organics, Root Maker, Pomona Universal Pectin, Chapin Manufacturing Incorporated, Pro Plugger, Tomato Snaps, World's Coolest Floating Rain Gauge. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support.
Now back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show, which is presented to you by Power Planter Earth Augers, the official digging tool. To find the right size for your digging project, visit powerplanter.com. Now here are your hosts, Joey and Holly Baird.
Some people use many different methods in order to protect their home and their property. Some use firearms, some use security cameras. Natives and tribals would use what was available in the woods. And there are plants in which people can put on their property to reduce the potential of invaders. And we're going to go over about 5 or 6 of them here, depending on the time allowed, that you can put on your property. Now,
and sometimes you just want to block views, block people out,
or critters.
Or critters.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these are edible. Some of these are not. Most of these, I believe all of them, can be grown anywhere from zone 4 or 5, up all the way to 9, 10. So a very vast variety. And there is dozens of plants in which we could cover, but I wanted some that were universal for all of our listening areas. There's beautiful cacti that would not grow in the upper Midwest, but do work very well for security purposes. Now, the first one is blackberries. As we get into this, now, one thing we want to make clear is plants, you want something thick and wide in order to kind of create a barrier. If you have a fence around your property, people will put these so people can't jump over that fence. There is a width in which they would fall into these plants. Mm-hmm. Some people will put them underneath windows to prevent the opportunity of somebody climbing in because they're getting tore up in these plants.
Or if you have a fence and you have a fence for protection around your home, and maybe you're afraid somebody might try to climb that fence, you could put these in front of the fence, or like a thorny bush,
right,
or something.
or behind, like I was speaking about. So blackberries. They are an edible. They are a perennial, and there's several different choices in which you can choose for. They will begin to expand and get wider and expand the patch year after year. There are thornless blackberries, but in this application, you would want the thorned blackberries. There's raspberries as well. There's many different berry types that can be applied in this type of situation. So blackberries is one of the ones that anybody can grow, and they do take a little bit of time in order to get to a mature state. And the biggest downside to blackberry bushes is they grow they do grow quickly, but not maybe as quick as you might want to. And you would need to prune them back if that is something that you would want to contain. If it's on the back side and you're trying to reduce the amount of animals coming onto the backyard, then you would just let it be as nature would provide it for. Second one is roses.
Right, and roses are known for their thorns, and they also can cause, if you have the reaction, sometimes people have a reaction to it, like a little infection, and that can be very discouraging if you're trying to walk through them to be an intruder or something. But for the homeowner or whoever's trying to plant them, they're beneficial because a lot of people like roses, cut roses.
About any color you want.
Any color you want. They're very fragrant at times. So they're nice flowers to grow for many reasons, and also for security. And,
like we talked in the first segment, some of these plants can add value to your property, to your home. Roses are ones. There are some very valuable roses, if you can get a hold of them, that do, for whatever reason, we're not flower people, but we do know flower people, and there are, like a classic car. It only gets better with age. Some of these roses are the same way.
Some of them are passed down from generations to generations.
Right.
So, yeah, that's another thing is, there's a lot of different varieties, so maybe you can find one that you like.
And, fellas, if you're listening and you want to kind of incorporate some of these into your landscape to help reduce the the potential protruder or animal risk, most of the wives and girlfriends and friends with benefits, whatever you got, like roses.
Maybe the wives want to plant them for their husband. Yeah. Their husband likes the roses too.
Yeah, possibly. Could go either way.
Yeah, could go either way.
What's our next one on the list here?
Barberry. So it's like an evergreen type shrub.
It's got thorns on it. Many of these plants, if not all of them, fall into that category. That's why, a tomato plant doesn't make a good security barrier. There's about 400 species or different species of the evergreen barberry. And
it's very hardy. It'll grow pretty much in any soil.
You get 3 to 10 foot tall, right. So you can close up a big area.
Oh, for sure. And it's drought resistant, so it's a very hardy plant.
Often planted for the ornamental properties of it, so they can and thorns on it. So good thing for a hedge, some kind of barrier. Blackthorn is another one here on our list, and it can be grown in zone 4 to 8 in various different conditions. And it can get it's the small dark berries they have on it, and it's some people will utilize this for a variety of different reasons, and it can get decent size as well. So some of these you would want to kind of keep in mind. It's a fast-growing plant, so you can incorporate that into many different locations if you've got an existing property or you're kind of building, I guess some people will call it a bug-out shelter or a secondary residence for an emergency situation. Natives and tribal individuals would take these big thistle-like plants, these thorn wood shrubbery, and cut them down and then surround their camp with those to prevent animals from coming in because they have these very large thorns. So they would use that as a security measure. So we can kind of take some of that knowledge and utilize that for our property. So in that kind of thing. Next one on the list is honey locust. Now this was we had this on the farm growing up. Several trees on several different locations. What this tree, it's what it is. It has very large thorns on it. It's like 4 to 5 inch thorns and clusters of them like a hand that's poking out. Devastates tractor tires.
It comes out of the trunk of the tree?
The trunk of the tree, the limbs of the tree. Forget about climbing this tree. You ain't going to do it. We never had anything go through tires because we were very cautious about when we did trim them and where it was trimmed and how we maneuvered around those trees.
Why didn't you cut them down?
They were in the woods. They were on the edge of the woods. It wasn't like, it was in the driveway or anything, but we would just cut the overhanging limbs that were in the field.
That sounds terrible.
So the tractor and we didn't get, implements wouldn't get caught on it. But yeah, it's zone 3 to 8, very hardy plant or tree in that matter, and it will devastate your feet, your hands, tires. So if you want to get back at somebody, find a honey locust tree, cut a limb down and throw it in the driveway as they drive over, you're going to destroy all the tires on their vehicles. So we didn't tell you to do that. We're just giving you ideals.
That grows in zone 3 to 8.
Yeah.
So it grows in a wide range of zones.
Right. So there's not too many animals that live. It's a pretty tree at a distance, but when you get up on it, then you realize what's the deal.
So the thorns are like 3 to 4 inches long?
Yeah, 3-5 inches long, and there's a big cluster of them all throughout the trunk and throughout the limbs.
Oh.
Yeah. Didn't know that, did you?
No.
Okay. Well, we got time for a bonus one here.
The Japanese quince?
Quince, yes. Grows in zones 5 to 9, so a very versatile plant. A couple as we talk about these zones, in order to find the zone that you're in, you can go to your favorite search engine or call your local extension office and put in your zip code and say, what is my growing zone? Zip code, put it in. And that way you can have an ideal. And then anytime you purchase a plant, let's say you're in zone 4, you really want a plant that is hardy. That's the definition, the hardiness of it. If you're in zone 4, you want something that's hardy down to zone 3. Because if you're in zone 4 and you get a plant that's hardy for zone 4, you typically have colder temperatures at some point. And if you have that extra buffer of that zone, your plants are most likely going to survive because they are more tempered to a colder climate than what you are. So always try to go a zone colder than what you are in order to guarantee that you're not having to replace plants. And if you are in a zone 4 and a plant's only good for zone 6 and you want to grow it desperately, try to put it, you're going to have to put it in a container and bring it in and do some extra work for that. But that's just a little side note there on this on the zone thing. So back to the Japanese, how do you pronounce that? Japanese?
I think it's quince.
Quince, okay.
So they are native to Asia, and they do produce, it's a deciduous shrub, and they produce this tart edible fruit.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a cross between an apple and a pear.
Yeah. And it does grow about 5 to 6 feet tall and wide.
It's got thorns on it.
Mm-hmm. It's got thorns on it. You can eat the fruit.
Yes.
Yeah, people really like the fruit. And there's different varieties. So there's going to be a different variety depending on where you are. There's also dwarf variety, and those are more of like a hedge.
Now, with all of these plants, they may not be readily available at your local independent garden center. There may be some searching. Now, blackberry and rose is very common, but these other ones, there may be a little more of a challenge in order for you to locate them in order to put on your property. And they are out there. You just have to do some searching for them. Well, another thing that's out there, because summer is here and it is hot outside, Holly, it's those various beetles, weevils, borers, and those Japanese beetles are in the garden now, and they're not going anywhere unless we do something about it.
It definitely is summer. And what better way to prevent these pests from destroying your garden than by controlling them while they are larvae? Grub Gone is an easy-to-apply granule product that can be spread on your turf to control these grub invaders. Developed by Phylum Bioproducts from a naturally occurring bacteria, Grub Gone is a non-chemical BT product that specifically targets only certain scarab pests, and it is safe to use around bees and other beneficial insects.
If you're already got the beetles flying around, and we do, then Beetle Gone is the water dispersible powder that you can apply directly on your edible plants. Find out more at PhylumBioproducts.com. That's PHYLLOM bioproducts.com. And that Beetle Gone is an organic water dispersible powder. It is safe, again, safe for your edible plants that you're going to consume. But you want to get those Japanese beetles off of them and get a control on them on your property. Well, do not go anywhere. You're listening to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show, a program to help your garden grow better.
You can bet the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardeners phone lines are always jammed during the show. So Joey and Holly keep their phone lines open 24/7 to help you. Call anytime 24/7. Just dial 1-800-927-7469. Or just remember 1-800-927-SHOW. SHOW. Leave a message and they will call you back.
Planting conditions are always favorable with the Power Planter Earth Auger. No matter what the job is, Power Planter has the right size for you. Simply attach to a drill and let the Power Planter do the work for you, creating holes fast and efficiently with ease. Find the size that fits your project at powerplanter.com. World's coolest raingauge.com. Need I say more? Brought to you by Blue Ribbon Organics, providing locally made organic compost and soil blends for gardens, farms, landscaping, and more. Visit BlueRibbonOrganics.com or call 262-497-8539 to find their products nearest you. Tree Ripe Citrus Company has top quality produce that comes right to your neighborhood with the freshest peaches and blueberries you'll find. To find locations, go to tree-ripe.com. Do not settle for the rest when you can have the best peaches and blueberries with Tree Ripe Citrus Company. Go to tree-ripe.com.
Looking to kill weeds without using dangerous chemicals like glyphosate? An all-natural weed killer may be just what you're looking for. Green Gobbler's Vinegar Weed Killer is a concentrated herbicide derived naturally from corn. It's 4 times stronger than regular table vinegar, so it packs a punch against all kinds of pesky weeds. Use Green Gobbler's Vinegar Weed Killer to safely kill dandelions, crabgrass, clover, ivy, and more. It's perfect for driveways, pavers, fence lines, and other outdoor surfaces. Green Gobbler Vinegar Weed Killer is an effective and powerful herbicide, but it doesn't stop there. It's also certified for organic use, so when used properly, it won't negatively affect soil or wildlife. Since Green Gobbler's Vinegar Weed Killer is pure vinegar with no other additives, pet owners can let their pets out to play right after application. Search for Green Gobbler Vinegar Weed Killer on Amazon.com today. We offer a hassle-free money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose.
Do not go anywhere. There is more of the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show to come, which is presented to you by Power Planter Earth Augers, the official digging tool. To find the right size for your digging project, visit powerplanter.com.
Trim Bin turns any chair into a workstation. Comfortably sort your herbs, dried flowers, cannabis, and more. Easily collect pollen with the static brush and mirror finish collection tray. High walls keep your work contained. To get yours, visit harvest-more.com. Made in California.
The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show is brought to you by the following: Phylum Bioproducts, Dr. Jim's, Nasala Kabucha, MI Greenhouse LLC, Green Gobbler, Water Hoop, Seed Savers Exchange. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support. Have you been to Blue Mel's Landscape and Garden Center yet for your landscaping needs? Whether you need grass cut, they can do that. Whether you need bulk material, they've got 40 varieties available on hand for you to select for the project that you have, as well as they have consultation for landscaping. You can find all of this at Blue Mel's Landscape and Garden Center. You can go to bluemels.com. You can also go to their facility at 4930 West Loomis Road, just off of Layton in Greenfield. You can give them a call at 414-282-4220. And they do have some plants still left. If you want some succulents, if you want some cacti and some native plants, they have some of those on the premises for you. Blue Mel's Landscape and Garden Center, bluemels.com.
Now back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show, which is presented to you by Power Planter Earth Augers, the official digging tool. To find the right size for your digging project, visit powerplanter.com. Now here are your hosts, Joey and Holly Baird.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show. Holly, let's go to the hotline and bring in both of our guests for this week.
Isa Eaton and Jennifer Kramer are the authors of the book Small Garden Style. Isa is a garden designer, and Jennifer is a lifestyle writer. They both have written for a number of well-known publications, and they both reside in California with their families. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having us.
Well, you're very welcome. We got both of you on the line. We appreciate that very much, that both of you have taken time out of your busy schedules to not only join Holly and I and educate us, but also for our listeners from across the country.
Awesome. Wonderful.
Well, I'll start with you, Jennifer. What was the inspiration behind the book, Small Garden Style, a design guide for outdoor rooms and containers? Where did this aha moment come from?
Yes. Well, we are good friends, and we wanted to do a book together, and we wanted to do a garden book that we felt like didn't exist. We wanted something more inspired by the interior design books that we love and collect. So we took that approach with this, trying to create something that people could really plan their garden around their own style. And we put a quiz in at the beginning, so people could kind of feel like everything they're designing outdoors was an extension of their indoors at home and more of a connection to that.
Now, Isa, was it smooth sailing, or was there some butting of heads here? This is what I want. And Jennifer was like, no, we're not doing that.
You know what? This was probably one of the most seamless work projects I've ever done, thanks to Jennifer Kramer. We just had so much fun writing this book, and I think we both learned so much from each other. So it was a really good process, and I think the overarching tone of the book is just really friendly and encouraging. Anyone can garden. Anyone can learn a little bit about garden design, and that's what we really wanted to come across in the book.
Well, that's really always great to hear. Now, both of you can answer this, or maybe you can talk about it, but what is a very helpful tip from your book for our listeners?
Well, Isa, we'll go with you first, since we went with Jennifer.
Okay. Oh, gosh, we're just brimming with helpful tips. That's a hard one. But since we're on the vegetable show, I think I'll just maybe talk just for a second about using edible plants in your garden. So even if it's not a traditional vegetable garden, I just love using herbs for ground covers, strawberries, oregano, thyme. One of my favorite focal points in the garden is as an edible tree. So it could be a bay laurel, it could be a lemon tree, and then looking for different ways to do your hedging out of edibles. So guava, citrus, rosemary, just thinking about plants that can give back in the garden and also just look really beautiful.
Well, Jennifer, when we talk about the book, this small garden style, people think, I've got a big garden, this is not going to work for me, but that's very not true.
Ooh, that's a good point. So we live in Santa Barbara, and, Oprah lives in this town too, and she doesn't have a small garden. But this book is just as much for Oprah as it is for, the friend around the corner, because even if you've got a big property, we wanted people to learn the same exact design principles so that they would start dividing their outdoor spaces into usable rooms. Otherwise, you just have this huge expanse with no definition. So this was really about, you've got inside your living room and your dining room, so now let's make an outdoor lounge, an outdoor planting section, and really define your spaces, no matter what the size.
Yeah, and I will share the secret that I love small gardens. I design small gardens, but I also design lots of big gardens. And the best big gardens have just what Jenny said, which is a feeling of cozy enclosure and having well-defined spaces across a bigger property.
That's great. Now, in your book, you've talked about lawn alternatives. And I don't know much about lawn alternatives, and many people might not either. What is a lawn alternative, and what are some? I mean, aside from, I know some people put gravel and rocks in their lawn as opposed to grass, but what is a lawn alternative, and what are some great examples of that?
So when we think about lawn alternatives, we're thinking about something that is planted and steppable that's different than a traditional turf lawn grass. So in the West, we think a lot about water conservation, but even if you're not in the West, traditional lawn grasses are really resource intensive. They often take a lot of pesticide, they take a lot of fertilizer, they take mowing, they take reseeding. When we had a big lawn, when my children were smaller, if there was rain in the forecast in Santa Barbara, my husband would come home early from work to reseed the lawn. And I thought, there's just got to be a better way here. So a couple of my favorites, one is Carapia. It came from Japan originally, but it's a really beautiful flat green mat. And it's you can play soccer on it, you can run on it, has a pretty little white flower, and you can mow it twice a year, and you have a lot more time to do the other fun things in your life than running home early from work to reseed and mow the lawn. Diamondia is another one. It's a very pretty gray ground cover, and all of these lawn alternatives, their roots they'll go 10 feet deep, so they can survive for longer with less water.
Well, in defense of your husband, his heart was in the right place. He was trying to make a nice lawn.
I appreciated it.
So, you talk about succulents in the book. You can use those for a lot of different designs, not only physically in the ground, but also in containers. I know, Holly, you're a big fan of succulents, for not only internal, but external use. What are some great succulent care tips? Because, we find that a lot of people want to overlove their plants, and that's kind of how they die.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The
Easy,
bulletproof plant.
Yeah. Well, containers are great. I think succulents can really be appreciated up close. And so a little container works really well, especially if you're in a climate where maybe you need to move them indoors when it gets colder. Succulents like well-drained soil. They like a bit of sun, but not too much. So if your succulent gets long and leggy, it might need more light, but it also might need to get repotted. So succulents are meant to be shared. If they get leggy or they need to be cleaned up, I like to just snip off the top, and if it's in the ground, I stick the top in the ground, and the point where I snip, it'll sprout up and become fuller. Or succulents in pots, they really do need to be repotted. I would say every couple of years, you want to pull them out, throw in some new potting soil, snip them down to the ground, and then reorganize them.
And, when you talk about, in your book, for outdoor rooms and containers, what is the first step that somebody who either has said, hey, we've got nothing else going on, let's redo the backyard. What's one of the first steps that you would suggest them, besides buying your book, in order to get the ball rolling? Well, I'll start with you, Isa.
I would say just first to kind of define what your style is. And we have a style quiz in the book, but if you don't have the book, that's fine. I would start by looking around on your indoor space, and are you a minimalist? Are you a traditionalist? Do you like lots of color? Do you like really peaceful colors? To kind of look at your interiors and think about that, usually you can translate that into your garden. And a good way to do it, if you're looking at online images, if you start creating some, pin boards online, even if you're just kind of throwing photos onto the board that really speak to you, if you go back and look often, you'll kind of see a garden coming together, a style coming together. So that's the way I like to start, is kind of what is your interior style? How does that translate to the garden?
Would you agree with that,
Yeah.
Jennifer?
Absolutely. And I think you can have so much fun with the types of plants you choose to put in the container and the actual container you pick out based on your style. And we also have a lot of fun, different kinds of ideas just work on that container. Don't get overwhelmed by a big garden if you're just starting out, and plant a s'mores garden in the pot and get all your mint or whatever the fun things you want to put in your fireside s'mores, or plant a red hot chili pepper garden. And you can do that all in one pot, and that's just, all pun intended, a way to spice up the backyard very quickly.
You can really grow your confidence by starting with a container.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Isa, you brought up a really good point. You kind of create your vision board, and and just like in the spring, many gardeners, they'll make a list of seeds that they want to get, and they keep going back to that list and eliminating ones until they get what they want, or they feel that that's what they need. Same thing that you're identifying. If you keep looking at it, your eye is going to go to a certain direction, and that's pretty much where you need to go if that's where your eye's always getting focused on.
Exactly. And also, in the book we talk about, it's important to think about what you want to do in your garden, with whom, and what time of day. So planting a bunch of pretty things is nice, but the idea I think, for a great garden design is to create a space that you actually want to be in. So do you want to have a small family garden? Is it really for just meditation or reading? Is it for big Sunday, family potluck kind of thing? To kind of figure out, do I want a place to play with the kids or to play with my dog? And so you have the kind of, how do I want it to look? How do I want to use it? And then you can start thinking about plants and design. But, just going, oh my gosh, I want to plant my garden on Saturday. I'm going to make a list and go to the nursery and buy a bunch of stuff. You're probably going to not end up with a cohesive design that you're actually going to like a few weeks later.
I mean, there's so many times I would just come home with masses of geraniums and no idea where they were going, no plan. Nothing really worked. So this is really about editing, streamlining, and getting a plan together that really reflects your style and, like you said, the way you really want to live outside.
Absolutely. Well, ladies, we greatly appreciate taking time out of your day to join Holly and myself, all of our listeners. Now, both of you ladies have websites, so we'll start with you, Jennifer. How can people find more about you? And then, Isa, you can let us know about your website as well.
Yeah, great. Well, the book is sold everywhere, independent stores, online, and my website is my name, Jennifer Blaze Kramer, and Instagram is J Blaze Kramer, and we're always posting fun stuff and ideas there.
And Isa?
Yep, and my website is isabird.com, and my Instagram is isabird.design.com.
Well, ladies, a lot of great information. Also, a very well put together book. Congratulations on that. And we encourage our listeners to go out and purchase the book, because it's for everybody. It's not just for a vegetable gardener or a succulent grower. If you garden, if you're outdoors, the book is for you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And when we come back, it's going to be about your garden questions. It's your garden questions and our garden answers. You're listening to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show, a program to help your garden grow better indoors and out.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
For all your indoor growing needs, equipment, and supplies, it's WeGrowIndoors.com. Number one key to healthy, productive plants are the roots. Starting from seed to full-grown plants, RootMaker.com has the answer. From seed starting trays with an innovative design that air prunes the roots, creating a fabulous root system, never again will you have root-bound plants. To multiple gallon grow bag sizes to raised beds, RootMaker.com has your grow needs covered. Visit RootMaker.com. Use coupon code TWVG at checkout and get 10% off your entire order.
Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show to come, which is presented to you by Power Planter Earth Augers, the official digging tool. To find the right size for your digging project, visit powerplanter.com.
Pomona's Universal Pectin is a high-quality pectin that gels reliably with low amounts of any sweetener. If you're trying to reduce the amount of sugar in your diet, you'll love Pomona's Universal Pectin. Now you can make healthy homemade jams and jellies sweetened to your taste. You can use sugar or honey to sweeten. Pomona's Universal Pectin keeps indefinitely when stored in an airtight container. Easy to use, versatile, and comes with directions and recipes in every box. Find out more and where to buy at PomonaPectin.com. Also available at natural food stores and online. Conserve water, save time, reduce runoff, eco-friendly. Visit waterhoop.com.
Landscaping materials, Blue Mills Garden and Landscape Center is where everyone goes. Whatever the project, we have the materials you need with over 40 varieties to choose from. Soils, mulches, gravels, decorative stones, fresh cut sod. Blue Mills has these products in stock and ready for easy pickup or fast delivery. So what are you waiting for? Now is the time to get your yard back into shape. Stop in and pick these materials up or call us for delivery today. Nobody does bulk landscaping materials better than Blue Mills Garden and Landscape Center.
Blue Mills, 4930 West Loomis Road, 414-282-4220. The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show is brought to you by the following: Neptune Harvest, Happy Leaf LED, Dripworks, We Grow Indoors, Deer Defeat, Harvest More, Blue Ribbon Organics, Blue Mills Landscape and Garden Center, Chip Drop. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support.
Now back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show, which is presented to you by Power Planter Earth Augers, the official digging tool. To find the right size for your digging project, visit powerplanter.com. Now here are your hosts, Joey and Holly Baird.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show. It's your questions, our answers to the top of the hour. We appreciate you hanging around for the program this week. We always do. We thank you for being with us each and every week. If you got a question, there's a couple of ways in which you can submit that, and that is through email, which is gardentalkradio@gmail.com. If you would rather talk to us, you can do that by calling us at 1-800-927 SHOW, 1-800-927-SHOW, whether we're on the air, on your radio, or it's 5:30 on a Friday evening. You can give us a ring and we will get your question answered. A couple of questions, a number of questions came in. We'll see how many we can get through. Holly, here is a question for you. Holly is a multi-award winning Wisconsin State Fair canner. You got a question about canning? She's the one to talk to. I can cherries and they are all sealed, but I see little bubbles on top of some of the jars. Does this mean they will spoil? I boiled them for 25 minutes and left them to cool before I took the rings off. Please get back to me. I appreciate any information you can provide for me.
The bubbles are fine. That's just a natural process. A lot of fruit holds a lot of air. So, especially cherries, they have a lot of little air holes all over. So that's okay. The bubbles are fine as long as you can them correctly.
Well, also you don't want to just buy them this week and can them next week kind of procedure. Because as the fruit, once it's harvested, will basically begin to break down and begin to rot to a certain level. Right.
But you just want to make sure you're using a recipe that is safe and following the procedures, and you're fine. The air bubbles are a natural thing.
Real quickly, let's address, because people might be going, well, I've never taken the rings off my jar. I just let them sit on the shelf. Why, we talked about this last week, and if you want that, a couple of weeks ago when we talked about canning what you grow, why do we take the rings off the jar for storage?
You take the rings off the jar so that when you're storing them, say like you're storing them and the lid,
boom!
The lid, maybe there's some sort of reaction, whatever, in that jar. And I would rather have the lid pop off than that jar explode. Mm-hmm. Also, if there is reaction in that jar, I would not want that lid to reseal itself. So, I mean, we've gone through our storage and we've, jostled a jar and the lid comes off and it happens, especially, with certain things like just tomatoes. Those are acidic. Sometimes it happens, whatever. So if you take the ring off, you're going to have the safest storage method, and there's no reason to store them with the rings on, so you're fine.
All right, here's a question here. I live in Massachusetts, and I have rhubarb that has been good for many years, but now it has thin stalks. What could be causing this? What could be figured out the problem here, Holly?
It means that that rhubarb is not getting enough food. It's not getting enough nutrients.
Even though it's in the ground, these things can live, upwards of 2 decades. They got to be fed to a certain level. Obviously, whether it's fertilizer or top dressing 2 to 4 inches of compost in the fall, and then reapply it in the spring.
You also need to divide your rhubarb.
Right.
So that's another thing, and some people they neglect to do this. So every about 3 to 4 years, you want to dig up and split the rhubarb roots, and you want to do this in early spring or later fall.
Right. As the plant, before it gets into its growing cycle or as it came out of it, do not fear you're not going to kill the plant. This thing is a tough sucker, and it does need to be divided if it's going to continue to grow successfully.
Okay, so we have another question.
All right.
Hi, Holly and Joey.
Hello.
I'm hoping you can help me. I cannot figure out why my tomato plants look like they're wilting. I have pepper and parsley plants in the same raised bed. They look fine. This is the same bed I had sunchokes last year. I'm thinking maybe I should dig one out, check off the roots. Do you have any idea?
Well, hold on now. Before we dig up roots on tomato plants that are wilted, though other plants in that bed may look fine, it may be a lack of water. Tomatoes are an incredible amount of water suckers. They just drink the water up. So you may be thinking, oh, I watered it, and I watered it, and I watered it some more. Okay, good enough. But there is a lot of soil that needs to be hydrated, especially on the hot days that we're having, the 85 to 90 to 100 degree days with relative humidity in that kind of range as well. A lot of moisture gets sucked out of the soil. So just because you've watered and you think you've watered well, you need to water at least 5 times more than what you think, or get an irrigation system like we have from DripWorks where it's on a timer and I can go anytime in the garden, put my hand down, that soil is damp, not sopping wet, but it's damp. So it's adequately moist for the plants to uptake whatever nutrients it needs to grow. And if you've watered correctly and saturated the soil, and then in 4 or 5 days, those plants have not changed at all, then we've got another issue. Then we've got another problem. We can start, diagnosing what could be the issue. But I think with just the temperatures, I just don't think there's enough water being given to the plants in order for them to grow successfully. All right, next question. Thank you for all your hard work on the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener radio show. My question is it bad or okay or good to use unfinished compost in my garden? We've ran out of space in our compost bin, and our raised beds could use some additional soil for topping off. I've heard that it could take some nitrogen out of the soil, but it could also improve the worm life and therefore the worm castings. Does the answer change between halfway versus mostly to almost done compost material? Thank you again for your help. So here's the answer. You can add unfinished compost to your raised bed. Yes, it will suck some nitrogen, but not much out of the upper levels of it. However, like you indicated, it will increase the microbial life and the worm activity in that raised bed, because then worms are going to come up there and work on finishing out that compost, devouring it, and the microbial life will increase. So it's definitely okay for you to add unfinished compost. And when I say unfinished, I'm talking 60 to 70% completion. Now, you don't want to throw, banana peels and leaf lettuce scraps in the raised beds. You want this to be majority of broke down material, and it will work very well. If you're concerned, I wouldn't be too concerned about the nitrogen being used up, because it's going to balance back out. So it's not like it's going to suck all the nitrogen. Your plants are going to turn yellow and die because you're adding a little unfinished compost to the top. So definitely, if you have some unfinished compost, 50 to 70% completed, you can go ahead and use that to top off your raised beds, your containers. You're going to top dress your garden too. We got time for one more.
I planted 2 Wozniak cherry bushes in the spring in Pennsylvania. When it arrived, it was basically a root stock.
That's what they are.
They were growing nicely. I placed a fence around each plant. Unfortunately, something got into the cage and slopped off each stem in the middle of the stalk below the leaves. I placed a 5-foot wire fence 2 feet outside of the plants all the way around, so I know it wasn't deer. I'm sure it wasn't deer. My question is, will they grow back? Do you think it was like a chipmunk or a squirrel? Maybe something else? What do you think they are?
I think it might have been deer. Deer are very sneaky. They can push that fence in and eat, and then that fence will pop back out. Also, you want to have a perimeter, but if you have too much of a perimeter, the deer are going to jump in. I think it was deer. However, squirrels and chipmunks can get in there too and gnaw away at the ground level and, can be detrimental. So a higher fence, in the future would probably be a good thing. There are different, applications of different types of, items you can purchase. Really cheap one is chili powder. You can sprinkle around the base. That'll keep the squirrels and the chipmunks away because they'll get in their nostril. They won't like that. Also the deer. The plants will not come back if they've been mowed off like that. So unfortunately that's not going to be, a revivable plant. But keep in mind that nature is very versatile when it comes to getting around protection in which you have placed in your garden or area, because if they're hungry enough, no matter how much of like a deer defeat that you put around the plants, if they're hungry enough and they're desperate enough, there's nothing in which you can do in order to prevent that. But that would be chipmunks, squirrels, and possibly deer, unless you have some evidence that show otherwise. That's what we would say, and they're not going to come back. Well, we greatly appreciate you taking time out of your day to listen to our program, to download our program, to watch it via YouTube replay, podcast replay, and studio video replay. If you want to get this program, if you miss any portion of this show or want to revisit past shows, you can certainly do that by going to the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and clicking on the Season 4 tab at the top of the page. Or you can send us an email at gardentalkradio@gmail.com, and we will send you the link to this show. Tell your garden friends and your garden family that this show is on the air. That's how our program is spread. So join us next week on the program when we'll be talking about seed saving. Yes, it's time to talk about seed saving. We've got to prepare now in order to do it right in the fall, as well as the right way to store your produce. And author Allie Milham will be with us, and we'll answer your garden questions. So until next week, for
Holly Baird,
I'm Joy Baird, and we will see you in the garden.